Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. It's okay. So, hi, you're watching and listening to the Bidin Film Club. I'm assuming I'm Zain Azli.
I'm Shirley.
As usual, every week we watch a local movie and we review it.
Yes.
So this week we've been invited to the premiere. Well, I'm one.
Why are we invited?
We're invited because I'm one of the script writers.
Yes.
So we're going to review it. How do we review it? But anyway,
review it.
yeah, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bidin and For Malaysia premiere. Hi. Together to welcome the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Yang Berhormat Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, and Yang Berbahagia Tun Dr. Siti Hasmah.
You know, it was my mom and Dian's idea to start this project. And I think about a week in, my mom texts me, you know, we really need someone there who can be by his side, who can hold a camera and shoot, and who can ask him questions and he'd be comfortable answering.
The initial idea was really to document everything that Tun was doing and use it for GE15 because 100% he is not going to run politics for GE15.
And I was like, I don't want to be right in the thick of it. Yeah, so I told my mom I'd try a couple of days and see how we go.
We tell people that Ineza is the reluctant director and I am the accidental director because both of us didn't plan this.
I would like to thank my parents who understood the importance of documenting this historic moment and led us into their hectic lives during the campaign, which incidentally was my first ever. I'm particularly grateful that they got to share that experience with their eldest grandchild. I'd also like to thank my husband Tara for being a source of steady support throughout the campaign and the making of this document. And Ineza, my daughter. I can't begin to say how proud I am of you. Watching you on the journey of this documentary, all the way from your first reluctant agreement until tonight, you've been so focused and professional throughout, and I knew that would always be safe in your hands. Well done, thanks.
We watched M for Malaysia.
Okay, we watch it for Malaysia.
Huh.
Okay, okay, so you want to tell everybody what's it about?
It's about okay, primarily it's basically about the May 9th elections that happened last year. But unlike all the other May 9th election films that have come out, or documentaries that have come out, this one specifically centers around Mahathir. And yeah lah. So basically that is what this documentary is about.
Tell us what happened.
Tell us
Where
what
does it
happens.
start
We
from?
win.
No, where does it start?
Oh.
What happens in between? What are the special parts? And then
No lah, then you want to go and watch it. I will tell you this lah. Okay, so what also makes it different is the fact that it's directed by Ineza, who is Mahathir's granddaughter. So a lot of the footage in this of him comes from her, and it's very
So who's Ineza?
Ineza is a filmmaker who is the director, and also she partially produced this film.
She's the granddaughter of Mahathir.
I said that already.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of the footage that she gets, because she's the granddaughter, is very personal and very different from this like Iron Man that you are used to seeing lah. It's very cute, it's very heartwarming, and sometimes also it's very human in the sense that it's very relatable lah. So that brings a different sort of angle and a different sort of lens to the whole documentary. Yeah. That is intercut with footage of interviews that they did with several different politicians, Ineza herself, and also Wan Aziza. And they also address not just Mahathir's comeback, but you know, the kind of leader that Mahathir was before. So they talk about things like Ops Lalang, and there's a great contrast of how he was as a when he was a prime minister the first time around, and it sort of builds towards how he became prime minister again, and how the people sort of, I guess you can say, fell in love with him again despite everything that has happened. It didn't over glorify him, I felt. It didn't try to absolve him. It was just a real human sort of, not retelling, but sort of a really human narrative from a sort of perspective that I don't think he would have given anybody else other than his grandchild. And it's beautiful. This whole documentary is beautiful because of that. It's because of how heartwarming and how heartfelt it is, and how close she is to the project. And only someone who is that close to the subject matter could have produced something like this, I felt. So yeah,
It's a little bit difficult for
you to say anything.
me to say anything because I'm involved in it. I'm involved in the film. I was involved in the writing process. I was involved in the research process. And if you watch this film, a lot of the scenes are scenes that me and the team discussed and all that, how we wanted to narrate the story and all that. I guess at the end of the day, the film was done after so long. It took almost a year to complete, that watching it during the premiere was like watching a whole new film for me, right? And I really enjoyed the film. I could actually watch it as almost like a third person, and it was a good story. Now Mahathir Mohamad, as we know, was Prime Minister before, and he was the Prime Minister of Malaysia for 22 years before he retired, and then now he's making a comeback. And he has made a comeback, and now he's the Prime Minister again, but with a different party, and we all know the story that he was trying to get rid of the Prime Minister at that time, Najib Razak, because everybody felt that Najib Razak was just too corrupt, right? And look, For Malaysia, it's really about Mahathir and his wife, Siti Hasma, and like what you said lah, Ineza, the co-director, is his granddaughter, and she got a lot of intimate scenes that humanizes Mahathir. I mean, a lot of people, especially people around my age, who grew up during the first Mahathir era, we know that Mahathir is not a good guy. He is a villain, right? He's a bad guy who has done a lot of bad things that people associate with bad things lah. I mean, he was called a dictator during that time, right? And we have that picture in mind. When we watch this documentary and we see how he's so cute and how he's so affectionate with his family, and you know how polite he is and how soft he is, it turns your perception of him upside down, right? And I guess in this sense, you really like, you know how they say that you can disassociate the art from the artist. So here you go, disassociating a monster politician from the person, you know. And to me, that's what this documentary does, and because of that, it's really special lah. And the narrative is told in a very good way. I think I would say that this is one of the best Malaysian documentaries to come out from Malaysia.
This year?
No, I mean overall. You know, yeah, overall.
Including your own stuff?
Yeah, you know, yeah.
It's a big say.
I'm sure. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a perfect film. You know, it's not like the best film
There's
ever.
never a perfect
but
film.
But it's a good film, right? And politically, look, this is done after more than a year of Pakatan Harapan winning the elections, and I was speaking to Ambiga during the premiere, that we were saying that we need to have all these politicians who have won, the Pakatan Harapan politicians who have now won the government, to sit back, watch this film, and then start realizing again why they won the elections. Okay, it was really one of the most important points in Malaysian history when Pakatan Harapan managed to topple the Barisan National Government after them being in power for more than 60 years, right? And it showed the power of the people. It showed the spirit of the people. Yeah, fine, this film was about Mahathir and his wife, but we also showed that there was this huge support from the people to have made this happen. And after more than a year of these politicians winning, this documentary needs to be seen by them so that they start realizing again why they won and how they won, so that they need to buck up, right, and not play a fool and not waste the fact that people had actually fought for them to win. Okay, a lot of people have fought for a very, very long time, and it shows in this documentary, right? My 20-year career more or less has also been in some way fighting for that May 19th, May 9th to have happened, right? And to have these politicians forget that and then just squander whatever win they had, right? And now just playing a fool with the country we cannot accept that lah.
Okay,
right?
well,
you know what I mean?
I purposely reviewed it without the politics.
Sure, yeah.
Because Pakatan Harapan lost me within the first 30 days already. Within the first 30 to 90 days of them coming into power, because they had already proved that they were going to be a very passive government, and they had already also proved to be very they had made a lot of big promises that they within the first 90 days proved that they were not going to fulfill, and they never addressed it. They were very quiet about it. They just said nothing particularly about the 30% representation of women in parliament. So ever since then, it's just been a snowball of one thing after another of them just being passive and not addressing things, either not addressing things at all or not addressing things properly.
What are these things?
The caning of the women in Terengganu, for example, was never addressed, even though one of Pakatan Harapan's main things was equal rights for everybody or equal human rights for everybody. There were a few others also, but I really cannot think about it right now. I guess I've been angry for too long. Anyway, the point was that I didn't want how I felt about the party and about the current political situation to color how I watched this film. Because I remember May 9th and I was also really happy, even though I was really exhausted, like everybody else was on that day. But many things have happened since then, and I don't know that the politicians watching this film would make them realize, go back to basics and make them realize what we were fighting for, or make them even like realize the stakes lah of like you said, you can't squander this away, and you can't just pay the food, the country and everything. This might not be the film for it, because like we mentioned, the film is not very politically centered or rakyat centered. It's very centered towards just Mahathir, which is fine because it's still a good film, and it's great that it has that angle and it's fresh. But if you want to use it as a call to action to the people, especially to the current politicians, I am a bit skeptical lah. But that's just me, putting that out there.
But I have to disagree with you lah.
I know you do.
Yeah, because as much as this documentary, like I said just now, is about Mahathir and his wife, right? It shows why he got there in the first place, and it shows why he wanted to do something in the first place. This film does not whitewash him. Like I said just now, he was more like a villain, right? It's true, the film does not whitewash it. The film addresses all the mistakes that he's done, all the so-called bad things he's done, right? Like Ops Lalang, and there were a lot more. We were discussing the narrative for it. There were a lot of other things, that
and of course the UNRWA imprisonment.
The UNRWA imprisonment. There were a lot of other issues that we wanted to put in. But of course, time is a constraint, right? And we don't whitewash it at all, right? But I also feel that the film makes a good. It puts things in context. It puts why Mahathir is there into frame, and it's because people wanted a change and people were tired, and you cannot help but watch this film with a political lens, right? Especially if you're Malaysian, and especially if you're watching it in Malaysia, you cannot help but be colored by it. And the film does a very good job. This is again, in my opinion, because the subtext of it, right, shows that you've got this old man there fighting, but he's fighting why? Because there's this big, huge 33 million base that is fighting for it also. Politicians. I feel politicians need to watch it so that they get a sense of what has happened and why it happened during the May 9th. I think Malaysians who go and watch it will also kind of be reinvigorated, and whatever they should be lah, right? They should be, to feel that we should not tolerate any more bullshit. We've given them time already. Look, one of the thing that makes me sick to the core is that this new government was also supposed to, like you said, be equal and fight for equal rights for everybody, but they are still playing racial politics. They are still harping on religious rhetoric, and nobody is. And now you can see these politicians are still harping on issues that will help them win in the short term, and they're not looking out for Malaysia as a country, and Malaysia as a society, and Malaysia's future. They are still looking at trying to see what they can do in the short term to win the next elections. And that's why they are harping on this religion and racial rhetoric, which I think is stupid and it's bullshit, right? We need people who have a forward thinking, not just wanting to keep themselves in power, because then if they're doing this, then they're doing the same thing as the previous administration. So
they should actually do what they said that they were going to do in the first place, which they haven't really done lah, because they're just, like you said, so afraid. You can do the small changes, They can say they can do the small changes like getting a slightly more job employment, employability, improve
take down GST, fight corruption a little bit. But at the main core, you need to fix society that is already damaged by 60 years of racial rule. You know, that just taints every single aspect of the country, from the economy to education to everything. You know, and I don't want to waste.
We're really not talking about the film right now.
No, of course, but like I say, you know, you cannot watch this film without that lens. You know.
Well, you can if you try very hard. I did.
Yeah, if you're non-Malaysian, can lah. Because you have,
thanks.
no, I'm serious. Because if you're Malaysian, how can you not feel that way?
I just told you. I tried very hard.
How do you detach yourself as a Malaysian when you watch this film? You detach and just be like an objective third person. Oh, okay, this film has this narrative structure. This film interviews this person in this particular way. Or this film chooses to put this part in, and choose to leave that part out. Of course you can.
I feel
but
very personally attached right now. Just putting that out.
Of course you can. Of course you can see that. Because I see that too. But I cannot detach that biasness of being a Malaysian .
So you say I'm not Malaysian lah?
No, but how can you watch it without?
I just told you I did.
So you don't feel that political sense?
I told you that I purposefully did not look at it politically. Yeah, I did at first when I was watching it. There was that little bit of political sense, and even when they were showing the bits about like when they were campaigning and stuff, yeah, the feeling would come up. But I consciously chose to put that aside and watch it as a documentary, as opposed to watch it with that context, because I didn't want it to color how I watched the film.
Then for me, watching a film will always be tied to the personal.
Sorry if it makes me very non-Malaysian, no.
Okay, I guess it doesn't make you non-Malaysian lah. But because like for me, one of the things that I like about the documentary is, remember we were talking about this yesterday, how the documentary is good because it has that personal point of view. It brings it personal. It's very micro. It humanizes.
We have said.
It humanizes people and all that. And for me, like, if you make a film, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, and especially if it's non-fiction, you need to throw away the facts. You need to throw away the hard facts. I mean, have it in there, but the hard facts should never be the emphasis. The humanization of it, the personality of it should always be the main highlight of a non-fiction film. And the facts only comes secondary. Yeah, so it's not like watching the news, right? If you watch the news, you want the facts to come out, and you don't want any personal color to be in there, right? But for like a film like this, a documentary, the main point is to have all the personal parts, and then the facts only come. So like for me, I find it almost impossible to watch any film, just the film itself, and have no personal feelings to it.
I'm not saying that I had no personal feelings to it. I'm saying I had no political feelings to it. That's different lah.
Okay, that is different. And for me, like my entire life and entire career is very political.
Well, that's you lah. So you cannot then just go and discount all Malaysians and say that, oh, if you did not feel politically about it, you are not Malaysian. Because that's not really fair, is it? Not all of us have been journalists for 20 years and been so politically inclined and woke lah. You know, some of us are still capable of detaching, and you know, it's not to say that I'm not politically conscious or anything, but you know, it got to a point where I was angry, and it was still pointless because I was angry and these people are still in power, and I accepted the fact that it was going to be like that. Yeah, it's great that you are calling them out, and it's great that people are calling them out, and it's great that, you know, we want them to wake up and realize that this is not the way to do it because you're just doing what the previous government did and everything. But in reality though, do we really think that this is going to change? I think that's a bit idealistic lah, because they're always going to be chasing the popular vote, which unfortunately in this context is always going to be slightly conservative Malays.
Yeah, that's true. And if when you think about it, and I've been in that situation also, where we think that actually there's nothing that can be done. And remember there was a movement of Undi Rosak, the Undi Rosak
Yeah.
movement. I think this is the same feeling that the people who were behind the Undi Rosak campaign felt. Like
Okay.
there's no
Yeah,
choice,
fair. Yeah.
and there's no point to everything.
Yeah.
But is there really no
Wait,
point to
sorry.
it?
Yeah, okay, yeah, we're talking about that. Okay, there's no point to everything and everything. But even though I felt this way, I didn't want this feeling to be what I felt throughout watching this really good documentary.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
of
not
course.
about, yeah, so that's
Okay,
what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying.
So
I get what
you
you're saying.
cannot, yeah, so I'm saying that there might be other people who also feel like me right now,
No,
who
okay,
are
okay,
not
that's
fond
fine.
of them, but you know, can still
But the
watch
film is
this
still a
film
great
and
film.
still enjoy
Yeah.
it. So if you take that jadedness that I already have out of it, that's why I enjoyed the film so
Okay,
much.
okay,
So
agreed,
yeah,
agreed.
Yeah, okay.
Just like the
It doesn't
like I
make me
said.
any less Malaysian.
Okay, yeah. No, totally fine. So when I say that you can't detach, it doesn't mean that I think it's a great film too. And for somebody who's not Malaysian, right, like say a Singaporean or American even, or a European who has never lived in Malaysia, when they watch this film, it's gonna have all those universal appeals that will make the film great.
Yeah.
Right, and they will be able to enjoy the film. And when I talk about wanting to call out these people, wanting to call out the politicians, wanting to call out Pakatan Harapan, this is what the film evokes in me,
Okay.
right?
Fair.
And I think it will also invoke a lot of people in Malaysia also. But then, like you said, right, after so long, we are at this point where there will be a lot of people who are also jaded, right? And some will also see this film as propaganda, you know. Would you think that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
A lot of
If
people
you
will start
watch it
thinking
with
that
that
it's a propaganda.
jadedness and with that cynicism, it is possible that you will take the film like that. But I must say that these little personal bits make it very hard for you to fully feel like that lah. Yeah, it's really not possible. And I feel, especially when she interviews him, Ineza at one point of the documentary interviews her grandfather, and they talk about why are you coming back and stuff like that. The things that he says to her, right, doesn't feel, even if you are jaded lah, it will not feel tailored to sort of, or constructed lah. It doesn't feel tailored or constructed. It feels very honest and very frank. So yeah, you could, if you've got to be like a real bitter Malaysian, I suppose, to feel really super jaded by it. But I personally found it very hard lah. But that's just me. So
I don't know. I think a lot of it also makes me very angry, because I like, again, it's very personal for me, because after 20 years of working as a journalist, and I think even if for a lot of people out there who are not journalists also, who actually believe in wanting to change Malaysia and all that, and they've worked so hard to reach the point, like how many years of Bersih demonstrations that were violent and chaotic and all that had to happen for us to reach May 9. You know, how many people who have had to suffer,
imprisoned.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, be interrogated, suffer, try to express themselves for May 9 to have happened.
Yep.
How many people who have had to put their jobs at risk, their children at risk, just for May 9 to happen. You know, and when May 9th had already happened, now the politicians who have already won, when they don't take it seriously, and like the word that we use just now, squander everything, right? It's not fair to all the people who fought lah, you know. You know, the two girls, right? I've had death threats made on myself. I've had people talk very, very badly about my two daughters, you know, just because I was fighting for something that I felt was the right fight for Malaysia. And then now, and now for thinking that, you know, we kind of did it already May 9, And then now all these people are now thinking on the short term and thinking of themselves and still playing the same political game from before. It makes me very angry lah.
Yeah, which is fair.
And sad, you
it's
know.
fair. Your anger is not invalidated, but at the same time, I just think other people should not be invalidated for maybe not feeling the same way either.
I guess it also makes me feel a little bit frustrated if there are people out there who then just don't want to fight anymore, you know, and feel that just like the Undi Rosak people lah, you know.
Who didn't make it into the documentary.
It's like, okay, so jaded, so pessimistic, okay, now don't fight anymore lah.
Then do what? In a very different context, I sort of understand the frustration. Parenting is a little bit like that. But at the end of the day, you're right. You still have to keep on going, because, you know, how then do you achieve the end result if you do not just keep going? It is frustrating that the people at the front lines of this are not going, are not, you know, continuing the good fight, but instead pandering to the majority, or just being absolutely passive compared to what they were before they became ministers or deputy ministers, so on. So something does have to be done, but I'm not really sure that this film will be the catalyst that you want it to be lah. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I don't want this film to be the sole catalyst.
I know, but it's also not really catered to be that, you know. There's not sure, it invokes a lot of good feelings. It invokes that feeling like, oh my god, yeah, we remember, yes, we struggled, so on and so forth, but there is no real, it's all very feel good, you know what I mean? So I think if I were a passive politician watching it, I will feel very good about myself lah. Like, oh yeah, see what we did, good job. And I will not feel like, oh shit lah, you know, this is what we were doing, and then look at what we're doing now. Oh my god, I'm such a crap person. I should fix myself.
Well, yeah. One thing cannot be a whole to change everything. Just like how it wasn't just one person's book or one person's article or one person's speech caused May 9 to happen.
Yeah.
It was a cumulative build-up of many, many things and many, many years.
Yeah.
So I just want this film to be one small thing. You know, yeah, sure, it's a feel-good thing, but people should build on it, you know, and have more things happen so that there is more change, and you know,
So on that note, this film is only running for 4 days. Starting today.
And everybody should go watch it.
Yes.
Right? It is the first Malaysian documentary to have a cinema theatrical release. Right?
And it's only got a 4-day run.
Yeah, and that's why it's a 4-day run.
For
right?
now.
For now.
So
if it does well, hopefully the cinemas will extend the run.
And more people can watch it.
Yeah.
So it runs from today, the 12th, till...
Well, the day of the release of our review lah.
Yeah, lah.
So for the 12th of September for 4 days
till
lah.
the 16th.
Yeah.
And everybody should go and watch it. It's it doesn't matter lah really what your politics are, for me anyway. It's a good story, it's a good narrative, and it's about a man we all know.
Yeah.
But do we really? And it's a whole different side of a man that we all know from a very pointed view, and we see a whole different side of him that you will probably never see again.
Yeah.
Because I really believe that you can only make something like this once. And she did it. She did it so good with Dian.
Dian,
And,
the co-director.
And her whole team of people, really. The whole team of people that came together to do it all did such a great job. Including Zan. Good job.
I want to also give a shout out to Sebastian, man. He's the editor. It was edited so well. There was good juxtaposition, you know, back to back. There was a scene where
Zan is serious when he's using big words like juxtaposition.
I'm non-intellectual, right? But what was that scene that we were talking about when Reformasi?
No, we were talking about how they used they first did the scenes of the Reformasi in
1998.
2018, and then they bounced to 1998 when they were shouting reformasi against
Yes.
Mahathir, and then they rounded back to when they were shouting reformasi
For Mahathir in
in
2018.
2018.
You know, and it's
That was art.
it's beautiful.
Bloody art. Mahathir.
Yes, kudos to the filmmakers.
Yes.
It's really good.
So-
But you know, I think right, the hardcore UMNO supporters and past supporters, they are not gonna like this movie, this film.
Well, they're
It's
going to be watching it with a very political lens.
Yeah, these people, the hardcore ultra Malays. Oh my God, you know, I don't think they're gonna stand this film. It will irritate and annoy them to the core which is great
So please watch it.
So everybody go watch this film. It's a good film. Yeah, you need to watch it. Right?
Yes.
I think everybody needs to
Yes.
go and watch it.
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah.
So when you do watch it, or if you have watched it, if you were at one of the halls,
Do
like
comment.
we were at, do let us know what you think.
The premiere was fun, wasn't it?
It was fun.
There was a lot of
It
halls, a
was
lot of
fun.
friends.
A lot
you
of
know.
halls, a lot of friends.
I read a status on Facebook by a friend, Pete Teo, who was at the premiere.
Yeah, it was long.
He said that the ending credits, the credits for this film, was like a list of friends that he would
invite
actually
to a
invite.
party.
Yeah, which is,
I
chit-chat.
hate social events. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I do. I really do. But I didn't hate this one. I actually had a pretty good time. Ever since I've been pregnant, I hate social events even more. So for me to have gone out like this and had a really good time was a nice consolation also to having watched a really nice film. So all in all, the gala premiere was great. Yeah.
I feel like taking everybody, the family, all go watch it. At the cinema. That's how I feel about it. Anyway, let us know what you think. Right? Comment, like, don't like, subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all our social media platforms. Just search for @FatBidin or go to fatbidin.com. Just get everything there.
Yes.
And yeah, that's it. Right?
Yeah. Watch this film.
Gemilang.
No, wrong song.
Bawa
It's the Yuna song
naunganmu.
now. Why didn't you practice the Yuna song?
I don't know. Yuna song. I like the old
The music is great also, by the way.
Yeah, the music was great.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
And a lot of people worked really hard on it. Basically, everybody who worked on this film worked really hard, and it shows. Yeah, I really like it. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Okay.
So you've been
You'll be watching and listening to the Fat Bidin Film Club. I'm assuming.
like half an hour.
This is one of our longest reviews. So you'll be watching and listening to the Fat Bidin Film Club. I'm assuming I'm Zan Azli.
And I'm sure it was on.
Hey, if you want to learn how to become an independent filmmaker or a filmmaker in general, I've got a book which I wrote with a buddy of mine. It's called Zan Azli and Wan Chun Hong's Guide to Indie Filmmaking. You can actually buy it off of here. I'm going to put the link down here at my website, fatbidin.com. It's only a couple of ringgit, and it's really good because it has many different chapters, the process of filmmaking, and each chapter I interview a Malaysian filmmaker who gives advice and tips of from their experience. So yeah, yay, link is down here. Yay.